The neuroscience of why overwhelm can just crush your progress and your growth. BJ O'Neill here with Business Coach Mastery. Whether you're building a business coaching business, whether you have a business, you're trying to grow it, regardless if you've just started, if you had it for 10 years, what's that variable of these small areas where we can find opportunity for success and growth? Well, we also should ask the question, what are the things that are making an impact to make that very challenging? Overwhelm is one of those things. That's what we're going to talk about in this training. You probably do it. I know I do it. We all do it. We feel very overwhelmed all the time. Here's the thing that I want you to consider. And I'm going to give you three just kind of high-level things to consider about the way that you and I are created. God created you. God created me, created the body, the way that we're wired, how our brain works. The problem is, in today's culture, it's very normal that we're pushing against the norm. In other words, we're pushing against the way the body operates and the brain works, which causes overwhelm. That crushes productivity. The brain does not want that. So if you feel like you're always tired, you have headaches, you're frustrated, all those things are real. But the question is, how are we processing our world, our day, our week, our month, our year in regards to building and growing? Now, three things from a neurological perspective I want to give you. Now, I'll be very clear. I am not an expert in neurology. I've studied enough and learned enough at a fairly, above average level. But I want to give you some things to consider. If you've never thought about them before, prayerfully, it'll give you some reasoning as to, well, wait a minute, maybe I'm going about this in a manner that's making it complicated and difficult to actually grow myself and my business. Okay. Regardless, again, if you don't know, we have a business coaching network all over the country. We also serve Christian business owners as well, helping gain and grow profitability. That's what we do. So, three things to consider. One, is this term information overload? And guess what? It is real. Perhaps, and I'm really bad about doing this to myself in the form of reading, meaning I love to read books, but the way I am wired naturally is that I get interested in a lot of different things. So it's very natural and normal for me to read a little bit of this book, to read a little bit of that book, to read a little bit of this book. And what happens? Well, there's so many different thoughts going on, themes going on, ideas going on just in reading. That's a lot of information. The problem with doing it that way is that I'm not able to take that information at a deeper level. I'm not able to really get clarity on how to apply, if it's an applicable type of thing that I need to apply in either in personal growth or business growth. It makes it very, very challenging. There's an example of just too much information, right? Well, same thing when building anything. If you're got a lot going on here, over here, over here, over here, it makes it very difficult for the brain to process. So, guess what? Your brain has an information center that is essentially processing all of the stuff that we're feeding it, all these emails that we take, all the phone calls that we do, all the social media. Screen time is a really difficult thing for your brain to actually process. Think about it like this. If you got your computer open and you've got multiple tabs open, we all do it, right? And you've gotten that proverbial message at some level, hey, we're running out of memory, right? And when the computer starts to run out of memory, what happens? It gets slower. Sometimes applications don't work properly. Sometimes it doesn't save things properly. Sometimes things glitch like that. You've seen that before with your computer. Why? Because the computer's saying, look, you've got all this stuff open and I'm responsible in my memory system to process all this stuff to perform for you. Guess what? Our brain is done the exact same way. When we have all these different things going on, and I'm not referring to just multitasking, I'm referring to just thought and doing and processing and trying to accomplish, all these different things at the same times, your brain is basically saying, hey, time out. This isn't working. Therefore, this is where we get lack of clarity. This is where we get forgetfulness. How many times you're like, oh, shoot, I forgot to do X, Y, Z. We all do it. Even down to the, where did I put my keys, right? I'm sure you've been there. Oftentimes it's because we're in a state of hurry and overwhelm that the brain just cannot really function properly. I'm going to give you the flip side of what to do in just a moment, all right? The second thing is, and if I pronounce this wrong, please don't send me an email because I always struggle with this word. The amygdala, I believe, is the right way to do it. Essentially, your brain has this area in it that's prefrontal cortex that gives rationale and reasoning. What does that mean? The brain actually would prefer you to go in order so it can process the information accurately and correctly and get to a completion. Go look it up if you don't believe me. It's pretty cool, actually. But when we hijack that process, that's where the brain short circuits. And again, causes all kinds of overwhelm, causes all kinds of confusion, causes all kinds of frustration. The brain's just going, whoa, hang on a second. So meaning, if you're doing any function, doesn't matter what the function is, and there's 10 steps to the function, and you go step 1, step 2, 4, 8, right? What happens now is the brain starts to go into this fear mode of going, wait, I don't have everything that I need to process correctly. And it goes in that now fear rises, anxiety rises, frustration rises, and overwhelm rises, all because we've hijacked that part of the brain that's designed to do things in order to completion. Okay. Then is the when we are not feeding ourselves the correct amount of anything in life that gives us dopamine and the release of happiness. That's what dopamine is, the fun, right? It's the fun, it's the reward. When those elements are missing, it allows only the frustrations, the challenges, the shortcut, whatever, to take over. All this stuff creates the overwhelm. Now, to be very fair, there's a number of other things, the way the brain works, that works into this process. I wanted just to give you the high-level overview, if you will, of those 3 that are really big ones that causes challenge and frustration. So, what's the solution? What do we do? So this is the reason why. This is for if you're building anything, the practical plan of strategy and having a step-by-step purpose to it, to see it to completion, is the move. Because when we have a plan, now we're starting to tell the brain, it's like, okay, good. Now we've got a foundation. That's essentially what the brain is starting to work through. When the plan begins to have steps of order, now that prefrontal cortex is starting to do its job, and now we're missing elements of fear. We're missing elements of overwhelm. We're missing elements of anxiety. When we begin to complete step 1, check. Complete step 2, check. Complete step 3, what starts to happen? Sense of like accomplishment. That's reward. Sense of accomplishment begins to billow and go, all right, this is good. We're getting somewhere. All right. So confidence rises, energy rises, excitement rises. All of that suppresses overwhelm and makes you feel immensely better. You'll have more clarity. You will get rid of fatigue. You will have this sense of accomplishment in moving forward. So how does this play out for a business coach? If you're one of our coaches on our team, or if you're thinking about building a business coaching practice, how does this play out for a business in regards to your own a business? And what does that actually mean in the growth of the business? It means this: to grow ourselves correctly. So if you're a coach working with the business, having a methodical process of going one strategy at a time and one step at a time, just like baking a cake. I know that sounds overly simplistic and elementary, but here's the cake. It's a chocolate cake. Here's the list of ingredients that you're going to use. Here are the steps of which you're going to crack the egg, put the powder in, put the sugar in, step, mix it all together, put it in the oven. There is an order and a process to do it. Business growth is the same way. We want to, if we're working on a strategy, if you're looking at reducing expenses, if you own the business, you want to start with a step-by-step approach that's kind of like taking a fine-tooth comb, and we're only focused. Here's where process and order of where your brain loves you when you do this. You're only focused on one step at a time. So if you're the coach, you're delivering these deliverables in an orderly fashion, one strategy at a time, one step at a time. If you're the business, you're allowing guidance of strategy of going one step at a time, even on elements that feel basic, and certainly on elements that are new to you, that are this may seem advanced. Oftentimes when we're working with businesses as strategists and coaches, when we get to a part of a step, it's like, okay, this is new to me. This is out of my comfort zone, whatever. Well, that's the whole purpose. When you're focused on just one element, you don't have a bunch of different things. We're not trying to grow here, grow here, grow here. Grow. It doesn't work, by the way. You want to do it methodically, with simplicity, that brings to completion. So again, if you're working on expense management and there's 7 steps in the process, we're going to work on step 1. We don't leave step 1 until step 1's complete. Now we go to step 2, then 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Now we're complete. Accomplishment rises. Success rises. We're able to measure and monitor what the strategy and the step that we implemented in there. Here's the point. Growth has a process. When you're skipping the plan, especially you're like, I don't need to do that step. Yeah, you do. I'll never forget years ago when we were first married, 30 years ago or so. We bought a piece of furniture at Sam's, and it was a, what do you call this thing? Armoire. And got it home. It was probably the first piece of furniture that I ever put together, those types of pieces of furniture. And got it open, got all these pieces, and instructions in that time, a period of my life, just was like, I'll figure it out. Well, the horrible mistake. I skipped a bunch of steps. I put it on backwards. I had to go back, undo it, and redo it. I probably spent 2.5 times longer than if I would just have followed the order and the steps needed to get the job done. So it's not hyperbole. It's how you're wired. It's how I'm wired. It's how God created the brain. And so when you apply and you're trying to open up those tabs on your computer inside your mind, and you've got a bunch of different things that you're trying to do, it doesn't mean that you don't have multiple projects. It really means that you're steady with, 1, having a plan to each project. Number 2, you're working on them one, not trying to multitask, not trying to do a bunch of different things, reading emails, social media, having that conversation, picking up this phone, working on 5 strategies, reading 3 different books, reading at the same time. Like, that's what creates overwhelm, gets rid of dopamine, creates anxiety, and creates frustration, and that's what's caused you to quit. By the way, that's what also brings in all of the pain of business growth. What do we call it? Marriage issues, drinking, the thoughts of suicide, and worse, actual suicide. The list goes on and on about the pain that comes because we don't properly address how to grow ourselves and how to grow our businesses, regardless of what kind of business that you're growing. So your takeaway, and prayerfully the potential transformation to you, comes in learning the discipline and the art of process and order. If you're a strategist, it's helping your client to be mindful of this very thing. This is why we go in order. This is why we're reducing overwhelm. We're going with one strategy at a time. We're going to focus on one step at a time. If you own that business, it's the understanding that hurry is not going to help you. Skipping steps is not going to help you. Rolling your eyes and just thinking like, that's not big of a deal, which is exactly what I used to do many years ago in early on entrepreneurship. I thought I could skip my way to success. It does not work. Okay, you might have a temporary moment of a flare of what's the word? Acceptance of reality. I think something went well, but it will topple at some point. The house gets built when the foundation is laid first and things go in succession of order. They go out of order, it will not be a well-built home, or worse, it could collapse. Your business is the same way. Your business, your coaching practice, it all is the same. You got to go in order. You got to go in steps, because that's how God created us, and that's how God wired us, okay? Hope that means something to you and add value to you today. Until next time, take care.